Well, good morning, everybody. Traveling out to Montana. We're just left Burlington, Colorado, and heading up to Cowley, Wyoming. Spend some time at a ranch there, and then head up to Montana to start our events, and then on to Oregon, wherever else the Lord leads us. Something was laying hard on my heart, and I've been sitting there talking to myself for 3 days, and I'm tired of talking to myself, so I'm going to talk to you guys for a little bit. It's something that, as I travel along, and this is pretty tough duty, driving, getting these horses out, feeding them, cleaning up after them, and sleeping in a cot or a bedroll, and, no amenities in life. And I think, what men were created for. Now, I know I talk a lot about men, but I don't know the first thing about being a woman, so I do know a little about being a man, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I believe men were created to do hard things. And we had a Brandon at the house back in the spring, and the guys come out there, and they never had a part of doing anything like that. And they were wrestling cows. They were dirty, they were bloody, they were beat up, and their wives said, this is really good for them. Men need to do hard things. And you're right. I read a book a couple years ago, Jordan P. Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, Antidote to Chaos. And whether you like him or not, I don't really care. And he has a chapter in there about something about don't stop the kids from skateboarding. I don't really know, but we've put bubble wraps on our young boys and our kids. We got them terrified to go outside, terrified to ride a bike. They got to have helmets on. They got to have all these things. They won't do things that will challenge them. They don't push the envelope. They just sit in the house. I can't do that. I'm terrified of failure. Terrified of getting hurt. And I had a group of school kids come out to my house not too long ago. When they went home, they were homeschoolers. When they went back to their deal, they all wrote down something that they got out of it. And of course, I say a lot of things. And one of them, several of them come back with a quote that they remember that I said. And the quote was, do something you're scared of every day of your life. Do something. Now that might just be finishing a project that you've been putting off. That might be talking to your spouse or a friend you got some problem with, or a loved one, and there's just a hard subject you don't want to deal with, and you're just terrified of how it may turn out. Do something you're scared of every day. And I'm not saying do something dangerous, but do something. Do something that you've been putting off. Live a little bit. What is that? They say that the cautious may live longer. The brave may not live. Whether I get this right, the brave may not live that long, but the cautious never live at all. And we should live. This life is short, and we should live. But back to the hard things. We live in such a comfortable life, and as I travel, I see how spoiled I am. I miss my bed. I miss indoor plumbing. I miss the air conditioner. I miss my fan blowing on me for the noise. I'm kind of spoiled myself. But we get comfortable, then we get content, and then we get complacent. Complacement is just one step before death. We don't ever strive to be better. And I tell people all the time, it's just like in a marriage. When you're married, when you men go out and you find a woman, she's a prize. I mean, you'll go to war, you got this big battle plan, you do all these things, and you have victory. You won the woman. Well, after you win her, what do? Well, you buy her flowers, you woo her, you know her favorite colors, you know her favorite food, her favorite restaurant, and you're all about her, calling her, how you doing, good night, sweetheart, good morning, sweetheart, and all these things. Well, you get married, have a kid or two, and all that's gone. All that's gone. You think you've got the woman, you got kids, you got a house, and you check all these boxes off, and now it's on to some other battle. Well, I'm here to tell you that you will never, ever, ever know everything about that woman. You need to pursue her, and which is a battle. which is tough duty. Pursue her until you guys are no longer breathing. That's how you keep a marriage alive. That's how you do hard things in your marriage. You constantly pursue her. She needs to know that she's cherished enough, not just to get, not just to win her that one time, that 2 or 3 months or 48 hours or however long it took. That it's a constant thing for the rest of your relationship. Relationships don't last that long because the two people start making jobs more important, start making kids more important, and the married couple is more important than the kids. And I know that may not be a popular view, but you are. If you put the kids above the wife, or the wife puts the kids above the husband, well, then you just train those kids to do the exact same thing, and their relationship, their marriage will be all jacked up. You gotta have leadership, chain of command. And that's tough duty. That's hard things. That is super hard things for a man to do. A man will go out and fight a grizzly bear before he'll sit there and have a conversation with his wife. I mean, you ask any man out there, it's a scary deal to go confront your woman, or talk to her, or discuss children or discipline or whatever. But men need to do hard things. Hard things, and break out of their comfort zone. Live a little uncomfortable. Maybe try sleeping out in a tent, taking kids outside, going in a tent, doing some camping. Cut your budget down on some food and some things. Realize how tough you are. We've done some events. I was invited with some Turning Point events. I believe they're called the Summit. And I didn't run them. All I did was help facilitate. I just kind of showed up. Those guys put everything up, and then I kind of ran in there and run my mouth here and there. But mostly I just helped out. But these events were hard. There was 30, 40 guys at them, and it was tough duty. It was 2-3 days, lack of sleep, lack of food, and I believe you can probably look them up on the internet. The Summit events at Turning Point. And these men were quite miserable. The things that bother them in their life: paying bills, getting up early, taking the trash out, little squabbles with the kids, little squabbles with the wife, so-and-so not liking them, not getting enough likes on Facebook, whatever it may be that they're dealing with, that is crippling them. They realize those things are just speed bumps. They just slow them down in life, and they cripple them to where they don't ever get to fight the big battles, the battles they can have great victory over, because they're too bogged down with all this little junk in life that we get caught up in. And at the end of the week, you wouldn't believe the brotherhood that these men build, to this point to where they start focusing on real stuff, because now they're faced with lack of sleep, hunger. Are these guys going to kill us? Or what? They're really narrowed down to their brothers that are on the right and left of them. They're narrowed down to breathing. They're narrowed down to surviving. They're narrowed down to accomplishing the mission that lies ahead. And it refocuses them. It's just tremendous. I've got guys that, a couple of years later, saying how much that meant to them. Even though it was hard on them, it was hard on us doing it. But I tell you, we had people quit. We had one gentleman that quit, and he was suffering the first hour of the thing. You can tell he really just wasn't in it mentally. He didn't really want to be there. And he made it through most of that day. I think he ended up saying he can't do it, wanted to quit. He ended up quitting that probably within 6-7 hours of the whole ordeal. And he was leaving. I don't know if he drove, called an Uber or whatever, but he was walking away. And I sat everybody down to take a short break. And I called him back over to me. And I said, "Would you mind coming over here and so that we can address this situation?" And he did. And I wasn't going to humiliate him. And I'm sure he was already humiliated enough. But he come back over there to the group, and I had 20, 30, 40 guys sitting in front of me. And I said, gentlemen, I don't want you to think of this man poorly. This week is just not his week. He's not prepared at this time to fight these kind of battles of his life. But I want each and every one of y'all to pray for this man. To pray that sometime in the near future that he will be faced with a battle greater or as great as this battle that he's had to fight that he would fight here the last couple of days. Because walking away from this battle, you're going to survive. We don't kill anybody. You're just going to be a little hungry, a little tired, and completely exhausted. But you're going to survive. Walking away from this will haunt him the rest of his life. It'll haunt him. Pray that something will be put in his way that he can conquer it, that he can have victory over it. Because he needs those victories. You need that. You need that life. Women need that, I'm sure. I'm speaking as a man. You need to have these victories. And maybe that was just too much for him that week. Maybe he had all kinds of other things going on. Maybe he was defeated before he ever got there. I haven't talked to him again. I hope he has had an opportunity. Because if we get in the habit of quitting things when they're hard, and just saying, this is too tough, I'm just going to lay down and I'm going to go on and do something else. I think there is a time to quit stuff. I'm a little hard-headed. I push through, suffer through, and accomplish, even if I don't want to do it, most of the time. But if we get in the habit of quitting, then we quit everything. We quit our jobs, we quit our relationships, we just walk out on things. We won't do the hard work. We won't put the time, the energy, the sweat, the emotional pain that we got to deal with to make a marriage work, to make the relationship with your kids work, to make that job successful, make that business successful. We need to be able to persevere. We need the personal fortitude as a man to understand that the foundation of the family rests on us. And that's the one thing where Charlie Kirk, in the beginning, he was focused on men. And I really appreciate the opportunity that he gave that team to do that, and I really appreciate that team's opportunity to allow me to come down there and be part of it. But I wish Turning Point would have stayed with that. They got real heavy into the politics. That's their deal. They're smarter than I am. We would. I hope that we can continue on. And that group did another one, Warrior Forge, that I got to be a part of last fall, and just as good. And it was. I don't know if they're still going to do any more, but you can look them up, Warrior Forge. It was quite a thing. But we have men that give up. They give up. Yeah, they're tired and they give up. And then other men have to come along and tote them and carry them and get them across the finish line. And that's fine. The scenario is here that you have other men and are here with you to help support you. And that's a good thing. But think about it. If you were that man and your wife and your children were the team you had, and you wanted to lay down, and you had floods coming, fires coming, you had a gang of outlaws coming, the things that fell apart, they were going to come and rape your kids and kill you, and you just lay down because you can't go on any farther. That's why men need to do hard things. You never know what challenges you'll face in life. You'll never know what situations you'll be in. I love being prepared. People always worry about what's around the corner, what tomorrow has in store for you. And people will whisper and talk. Well, what's around there? What's going to happen? What do you think we're going to? Do you think that we're going to be attacked? Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think the country's going to fall apart? Do you think the money's going to go away? And whatever they think. And I would just look at them and I'd say, what does it matter? Be prepared for everything. If you are prepared and something happens, then you just roll with it. You You may have to go a little left, a little right, but you still move forward. Be prepared. Have your act together. You will not be completely and utterly prepared for everything. But think about it. If something does bad happen, a natural disaster, the economy falls completely apart, think about it. What would happen to you? Put yourself in that situation. What would you do? Your family's going to be counting on you. You fall apart, they fall apart. Just put yourself in those shoes for a little bit. Think about the third world countries. Think about all these other places. We are so spoiled here, we don't think it could ever happen to us. But it can. It happens in cities, it happens all over. Bad things happen to good people. How would you handle it? How would you handle it? Would you have the fortitude to make the right decisions, to move forward, to make any decisions, or would you crawl up in a fetal position, and let your wife and children, just people have their way with it? I know that's a graphic scene to think about. My friend, it's reality. Most of you will probably never have to deal with anything like that, but it'd be nice to be a little prepared. I don't think all men ought to be macho, big, and muscular and fight. I don't think that's what makes you a man. I think what makes you a man is a man that will make decisions, is a man that will stand his ground, a man that is a matter of fact, that has very little backup in him, that admits when he's wrong. Admit when you're wrong. That was one of the hardest things for me, to admit I was wrong, to apologize when I was wrong, and ask for forgiveness. That was super hard. That was one of the hardest things I did. And I kept doing it, and it got easier and easier and easier and easier for me to do. And I challenge every one of y'all to do that. Because if you fuss at your wife, or make fun of her, or belittle her, or do something inappropriate in the house, and your kids are watching, my friend, you just trained your kids to talk to their wife or their spouses that way. And that's okay. But that's not okay. It's not okay for us to do that. And we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to say stupid things. We're going to do stupid stuff. The key is that we acknowledge it. If we can't acknowledge it right then, we acknowledge it as soon as it comes to us and we're convicted about it. We acknowledge it. We pull the family together. Listen, I shouldn't have talked to her that way. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have been that way to so-and-so. I was wrong. And this is how I was wrong. Explain it. Make it painful. And say, I don't want you guys growing up thinking that this is acceptable behavior. Because it's not. And I'm apologizing to my wife. And I'm apologizing to you kids. Please forgive me. And what you're doing is showing humility to your children and to your wife. Because they need to understand that they're human and you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to own up to them. These people that make mistakes, tell lies on the internet, podcast, or whatever, and will not even own up to it. They get caught in this lie and never acknowledge it, never ever back it up or anything. And that's horrible. That's horrible. Because think about it, if a president got up there and was doing all this crazy smack. Not saying our presidents do crazy smack. I know they're all perfect. But they got up there and they addressed the country and they say, you know what, folks, I took advice from these people and looked at the situation and had to make a call, and I made this call. And after 3 months of this call, I realized this was bad. And you guys entrusted me, you voted me in, and I screwed up. I am a human, but I am a man that's running the largest superpower in the world. I was wrong, but I tell you what, right now I learned a lot from it. And if you guys would just bear with me and give me an opportunity, we're gonna get this shit back in the right path. Man, it'd be hard to be totally upset. I mean, yeah, you'd be upset about the situation, especially if people died from it. But you would be like, man, this he's real. He's real. He's not above the law. He's not a god. He's real. And he's humble. That goes a long way with me. People, especially in the military and in this country, and business, corporate world, they have this thing that leadership is authoritative. Well, authoritative leadership only goes so far. only goes so far. Authority definitely there's got to be a chain of command. We got to have authority, there's no doubt about it. But authority coupled with humility, there is no bounds in that leadership. People will follow you, people will fight for you, people will die for you. If you believe in what you're saying, if they know that you believe in what you're saying, then people will follow you, and people will adopt that. Just understand truth, search for truth, and uphold it. Just make sure you're not believing a lie and pursuing a lie and trying to take other people down that same path with you. And I don't want anybody to believe anything that I say. I want people to prove me wrong, prove me right, whatever. But I don't want you to sit there and just regurgitate anything that Bo Smith says, because I'm just a man that's capable of leading you astray too. You know, like Romans 4 says, that God be true and every man a liar. And speaking of God be true, when you go back to your relationship with your wife and how you got to keep learning more things about her, that's the same thing with your relationship with Christ. You will never ever know everything about your wife, and you will definitely never know everything about your Creator. Learn, strive. Marriage was created by God to mimic the relationship He wanted between His people that He created with Him. Don't just go to church, check a box. Don't just get married, check a box. Don't just have kids, get a house, check a box. It is a battle. It is a battle, and it's worth fighting.